we're watching Game of Thrones, and I swear to God, if I see the actor Joffrey anywhere, I'm going to be like, this guy, like, you literally watch it. You're like, what a piece of, you watch The Mom, you watch some movies.
Yeah, the Game of Thrones messed me up, and I think it messed up a lot of the world because it got everybody into incest porn, because people started watching it. And how many people turned off the TV when Jamie and Cersei's hooked up? Or how many people got quiet and watched it? That was the incest that was pushed inside of Game of Thrones and the House of Dragons. It's almost being normalized in a sense. But I bet you incest porn went up from what? From Game of Thrones. It's presented for 7-8 years in front of you. Now it's normal.
I got a Minect the other day, and he sends me a Minect first. And then I'm like, hey, he says, hey, you got to talk about porn on Grok. I said, yeah, we'll talk about it. He says, no, I don't think you understand. This is serious. You have to talk about the challenges of porn on Grok. I said, we will. And he keeps Minecting back, and this is like 6 or 7 Minects later. And then he finally says, listen, let me tell you why you have to talk about it. I'm addicted to it. I don't know how to let it go. I said, what do you mean? He says, Grok porn allows you to pick and choose whatever fantasy you want. And it says you can ask for a 19-year-old girl doing this to this person in this position and that position and this. And I think it's horrible. I'm addicted. I can't let go of it. I don't know what to do. And he's sending me a message like this, right? So, I was in the military. We had a guy in the corner. He was a sergeant. You'd go to his office. He was the most famous sergeant at our unit. You want to know why? He had 2,000 cassettes of any porn you wanted. So Friday night, Saturday night, I'm coming back from the gym. All I'm hearing is, you're hearing the sound in the corner. And he's blasting it. So all these 18-year-olds are coming to his room to watch it. And he's 32 years old, E5. Let me tell you what I've collected over the years. He was a legend, right? And it's to himself, I have the best stuff back. Nowadays, here.
It's right there.
And then think what AI is going to do on whatever crazy situation you want. What impact does that have when a boy watches it or a man watches it?
When I was a kid, in order to see porn, you can get the magazines or you'll be at a wealthy friend's house and they had some videos. But it was a rare opportunity to see it. The proliferation of it today, I don't know how you avoid it. Like for me, I still have to be careful. I try and make sure that my phone, my computer, and all of that is inside of the casita and not near my bed if I'm away from my family, because you still have the desire to go back and to watch it. And I was, who was I talking to? What is his name, honey? God, and I love him. I'm having a senior moment. He played Hop. He was the voice in Hop. Yes, the voice in Hop. Not him, but the actual voice.
Russell Brand?
Russell Brand. Okay. I was talking to Russell Brand, and I remember saying to him, I still watch porn periodically.
He's saying that, or yours?
I said that to him, and he was like, what? He was like, you really should research that. You really should research what's taking place with that. And when I did the research and considered, would I want my child in that position? When I put it back to that, when I put it back to it, then you're like, you take a moment, if you can catch yourself. But if once you start going, once you've gotten on that train, it's over. Once you've turned on the computer, it's over. So for a man, it's a lot of self-control. So I have to make sure none of this stuff is around. And mind you, I didn't masturbate until I was 25 years old, only because my father was so staunch about manhood, and I'm like sitting there thinking, this is a man's hand touching my penis. That's homosexual. If I'm getting off rubbing.
Your dad told you if you masturbate, it's a man's hand touching.
Yeah, and so for me, I didn't masturbate for the first time until I was 25 years old. And I I wish that I had maintained that.
Like for a second, you went back to the first time you went there.
Yeah, I was in Czech Republic. I was in Prague.
You remember it?
Yeah, I was inside the hotel, and I had watched porn before, but I just would watch it. And this was the first time that I actually went there. And then I had them remove the television out of the room of the hotel. I was shooting Hearts War because I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop. I kept watching it. And I was like, oh, wow. So pushing the easy button.
Czech Republic.
And you get
shout out to Czech.
you get caught into it. So even at 57 years old, I have to be careful and to check myself. So that rule number 5, respect yourself. Respect yourself. And I sit there and think about, would Maximus, be sitting off in a cell doing that, from Gladiator. I'm like, because I loved who he was, and I put that into my head. I try to.
Is that really what you would do?
Yeah, I'd sit there and think about.
Would Maximus masturbate in jail?
Would Maximus would the people that I look up to? Did Socrates?
Wow.
Was Socrates involved in that? And if there are, I know that I don't necessarily believe about angels and things of that nature, but I know that there's other dimensional beings because there's other temporal dimensions. Things are moving at a different rate, a different pace, and based upon the individual that came and shared all that knowledge with me about the science, I'm like, okay, are they looking at me like I look at my dog when he's licking himself? Is that who I am? And if I could, would I do what my dog is doing? So I compare it like that, and it helps to pull me back.
How promiscuous were you at your peak?
Oh, at my peak, I was dating about 4 or 5 girls, that I would go and hang out with,
Was it interchanging or same?
It was, I would meet new girls. New girls all the time.
I asked the question because did you ever go on a run where for like a 5-year period, 10-year period, it was just...
I explored my dark side. I did the Carl Jung thing. I explored and embraced my shadow. And then you realize you have to get to your lowest point. And that lowest point was sitting there watching porn, and starting to use my gift of gab to talk girls into doing those things.
At what age did you realize you had that? How early?
Well,
that didn't start. Famous, or that was?
It was about in my 30s.
On your 30s?
In my 30s.
What was the first time you had a sexual encounter with a girl?
Oh, I was 4. That was different. I was 4. It was the older girls that were watching me, and they were like 6 and 7, and so that changed.
Did you say 4 years old?
4 years old.
With 6 and 7-year-old girls?
Yeah. And we did that every day until I was like 13. Had more sex then than I've had in my adult life. So my expectation for interaction was always those things.
I'm still confused. You said 4 years old?
4 years old.
And they were 6 or 7?
6 and 7.
Were they Muslims?
No. This is...
Because I'm thinking your father with...
Yeah, my father wouldn't have known, but when you're not supervised...
And you guys are just fooling around.
We're just fooling. We played hide and go get, pants up, pants down. That was my experience, and I'm like, I look at my sons 8 and 9 now, 9 and 10 now, and I can't imagine them getting involved in that, But I lost my innocence. It's effectively being molested. But then you have this...
But not grown girls, 6 and 7-year-old girls.
They were 7. They were about 2 years older than me and my brother.
How long did that last?
Up until we were like 13. But all the kids in the neighborhood was doing that.
Oh, this is a neighborhood thing. You guys are just hanging out playing and you're doing this.
And we played hide and go get.
What neighborhood was this?
This is in Cleveland, Ohio.
Wow. Wow.
30th and Central.
Who's watching over you? Are you living with mom and dad's in prison?
My dad's in prison. My mom, my dad had just gotten out of prison, but then he's at work all the time, and trying to hustle a job because it was hard to get a job after that. And then my mother's in school. So, and I didn't know, it felt like it was wrong. but I didn't know
Mom never felt
that it
that.
was
Parents
wrong.
never.
No, I wish they did. I wish they did. I wish I had never done that. I would probably have been a completely different person, but it gave me an skewed view of interaction. I kept thinking that, everybody was promiscuous like that. So by the time I get 16, 17, I've done enough to where I'm starting now the spiritual side of me is starting to show up, but then I slipped back into it at 25, and for 25 to 30 something, was still trying to be a Jehovah's Witness, but still having this urge taking place, and the bad things I'd learned from my uncles and all of that influencing me. And it takes you a long time to try and get back to who and what you really, really are. But yeah, that really messed me up. That
Are you kidding me? If I've talked to a lot of different people, no one's ever told me they had more sex between 4 to 13 than you're saying any other.
than I've had in my entire adult life.
Stop.
Because there's no orgasm, until you're about 12, 13. So
And when you're saying sex, you're saying intercourse.
yeah, we had intercourse. Was having intercourse at 4.
How did that mess you up as an adult later on?
Well, because you think about the innocence of a child and having to deal with those adult circumstances and situations, you're not mentally prepared for it. So now I'm so super protective of my children, of other people's children. I'm like, when we have a friend come and visit and they've got an infant, I'll secure the whole house and put pillows everywhere. I'm just overly protective because I wanted somebody. I'm trying to protect me. My kids are never alone. They are never alone without at least 2 people watching them, just because I don't want what happened to me to ever happen to them.
What a perspective. So if somebody who is not, probably nothing happened to them, so they think automatically everybody is safe. But for you, since it happened to you, you're always paranoid of what could happen.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't, when I was 13, you couldn't trust me with your daughter because I thought the way the interaction was, there's this play that we do, I didn't pull myself fully together until I was about maybe 15. About 15, I started seeing where I could head to, because there was a girl that I wanted to marry, and I loved her. I loved this girl, and she wanted to have sex, and I didn't want to have sex. This was like 14. I just started studying the Bible and really coming around to who I would ultimately become. And she ended up having a train ran on her by my friends, because I didn't want to have sex with her. I didn't know she was a freak. I didn't know that she was trying to be free like this. So it was stuff.
You don't know her reputation.
No, she didn't have a reputation at the time, but she was ready to explore.
So the train had happened or had?
No, it happened.
She's thinking about it.
It happened after, because I wouldn't do something with her. So that's what I'm saying. I would have the ones that I loved, I didn't want to touch. The ones that were special, I didn't want to touch. But I was treating other people's child. Yeah, like, oh, well, she's not somebody I want to marry or anything.
Did any father ever find that and come and get you and want to be?
I wish they did.
A brother, nothing?
I wish they did.
Really?
No, because they were brothers.
What would be the number? Like, how many girls would you say from 4 to 13?
Oh, at least 100. At least 100.
From 4 to 13, at least 100.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness!
And you don't want. It's not something that you.
No, I don't.
You're sitting there looking at your life like, wow. So that's what made a difference for me when I got older. I didn't want, when I would be next to these people, I knew that feeling of taking that walk. A lot of people didn't explore sexuality enough to where they had an opportunity, to sow their wild oats at that earlier age. But it's how the government has been set up to where the father and the mother are not at home. There's no caretakers looking after, the most important part of the family anymore.
At that time when that's going on, would you I have like 50 questions. Sexually transmitted, did anybody get anything? Did
No.
anything? Nothing. So
No.
none of those things happened. Did you witness older men coming in, taking advantage of younger girls, or no?
No, but what I did see, well, there would be some 16-year-olds, messing with younger girls, but that was all normalized inside of the community. It did not. That was just the transaction. That was how we played. I thought it was normal.
And you guys called it a game?
Yeah, let's play hide and go get.
And you're saying that to like 3 girls are with you? You're saying that? Or is it you and your buddies and 3 girls there?
About 8 of us hanging out, and, we'd all like hide and go seek, but it was hide and go get. And you would decide pants up or pants down. And I would hate for my child to be doing that this day. And it causes you to forget most of your childhood because you don't want to remember.
About it.
You don't want to remember those things. But those are the things that painted me, with my father being sent off to prison, with my mother trying to have the career instead of taking care of us because she didn't get the career that she wanted.
What did she want to do?
She ended up graduating from college and all that, but she wanted to be an actress. She wanted to be a journalist. She wanted to be all of that stuff. That didn't happen for her. And she lost being able to protect her sons, because now all my brothers are Jehovah's Witnesses. They've made different choices in their life. But I know that those thoughts still go through their head of the choices that we made when we were younger. And you're just a little more overprotective, a lot more overprotective, about who you are. And I look forward to the next lifetime of not remembering it anymore.
Did you guys ever run into each other? Did you ever run into any of the girls?
No, I haven't been
back
to
to
Cleveland.
You've never been back to Cleveland?
I've gone there, but I've gone to see
not to
family,
go.
not walking through.
I can only imagine. Like you ever seen a movie, The Judge, with Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall?
Yeah.
You know how he goes back to the town he grew up in and he never wanted to go back and he runs into the girl, his ex, at the bar and he left. When you go back, you don't see any of these old friends.
No. And that's why I was explaining to my daughters that if I bumped into girls that I had interaction with, I wouldn't even know their face or name.
It's pretty wild.
Hi, everyone. My name is Terrence Howard. I'm an actor, but in the field of science also. So if you would like to connect with me, you can connect with me on Connect. The QR code is down below, and let's have a great conversation.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.